Thank you very much. Adam Hill, I'm the Chief Executive of Oncimmune as of about 3 weeks ago. And I'm going to just provide you a quick overview of the company. I suspect we are the only diagnostic company in this immuno-oncology track, so thank you very much for accommodating us. As with others that have presented before, we're a listed company on AIM. I'm not here to sell you stock. I'm also not here to provide you forward-looking statements or any guidance over revenue, but we'll be providing a little bit of an oversight on our forward strategy, which is all in the public domain. And this presentation can be downloaded from our website in due course. So Oncimmune is a diagnostics company, as I've described, that was established 16 years ago. It span out of Nottingham University. We still have a site at Nottingham and also in Kansas and in London. We're in the game of beating cancer one test at a time. It's a very simple mission that has kept many of our staff with the company for in excess of 10 years. The science span out of an institute of autoantibody science at Nottingham University, and today we are experts in the development of capture proteins for autoantibodies that are expressed in response to cancer cells. I'm going to start with this slide, not because you all need educating in it, but just to make the point that our market size is not defined by those with a diagnosis, because, of course, we have both market opportunity in the pre-diagnostic and post-diagnostic space, and our lead assets are both in the pre-diagnostic space at this point in time. And therefore, we are focused on those patients that are either asymptomatic or symptomatic, but have a heightened pretest probability and may then enter into a screening or case selection program that is supported by or enriched by one of our biomarkers, as well as the use of our biomarkers to support therapeutic decision-making post a diagnosis. So the science is relatively basic and well understood by this audience, I'm absolutely sure. But of course, with the expression of a tumour-associated antigen, there is a humoral response, and that humoral response is significantly greater in size and magnitude than maybe the cells that are aberrant and haven't been able to replicate form and function. And so it is, of course, an obvious target for early detection of cancer, and it's exactly that we do. So we have developed a library of 175 immunogenic proteins, over 400 epitopes, that can be used in a discovery process to identify a short list of those that are specific to a particular tumour. Our lung asset, which was launched in 2012 and now has sold over 200,000 tests in the US and globally, has a panel of 7 capture proteins on an ELISA plate. We use ELISA intentionally because despite it being a 35-year-old platform, is cost effective, can be run in any laboratory in the world. It's robust and rigorous in delivering a relatively simple diagnostic. How do we compare to others in this space if diagnostics is not your world? Well, there are very few that have taken from a blank piece of paper through launch and then built all of the evidence to support clinical utility, performance, health economics, and harm around a single asset. And that's what we have done with our autoantibody panel in lung, and recently have launched in May 2018 our liver panel, in many ways to prove that what we have is a platform technology, and I'll come on to that in a moment. We require only 100 microliters of blood. That can be a blood draw or a finger prick onto a card that can then be posted. It's stable for more than 7 days, and our turnaround for the laboratory-developed test version of our platform delivery is no more than 7 days out of our facility in Kansas. We have good evidence to suggest that we detect cancer on average 4 years ahead of standard of care from the largest ovarian registry in the world, which is UK CTOX. We looked at the lung cases and ran the serial samples over our panel, and were able to identify an immune profile which was characteristic of cancer up to 9 years ahead of standard of care, but on average 4 years ahead of ahead of standard of care. So we're very sure that we can detect incredibly early. Not just that, but recent interims from the ECLS study, which I'll come on to in a moment, also suggested that we can support a stage shift of one or more stages from late to early, which of course in our world is the way in which you cure cancer, certainly at a population level. So what are our foundations to date? As I have mentioned, we have an immunogenic protein library which is proprietary. It's expressed in an E. coli system, and there are a number of proprietary steps which are kept as trade secret. We have a patent portfolio of 221 patents with coverage in 50 territories. We published 65 papers, both ourselves and with our collaborators, all of which presents a moat around our position. And as a result, there are very few that have been able to develop panels with any utility and reproducibility to autoantibodies in cancer, and certainly none that have been able to launch tests in this space. So we're relatively uncompeted in the approach that we take. As I said, we've launched lung and liver. Ex-US, we have £29 million worth of sales commitments on our books to date. It's taken 62 million quid to get here. But importantly, we are just approaching the final readout from what is the largest lung-based, blood-based biomarker study for lung cancer in the world, which I'll come on to in a second. Our pipeline, I know you like looking at these types of slides, is, as you can see in front of you, we have good POC data beyond lung and liver, which are commercially available tests as either an LDT or a kit in prostate, breast, and ovarian. They are probably 3 months from market, just to give you a sense for those that don't work in the diagnostic space. That clinical validation step is relatively short now as a result of the development of our proprietary development process. Colorectal and esophageal are maybe 7 months away from market, and we started to collect a very good and valuable data sample set in pancreatic. So this is ECLS that I've already referred to. As I said, it's a very large prospective randomized study of case selection sponsored by ourselves and NHS Scotland. To give you a sense, the NHS in this country rarely sponsors studies of this size over a long period of time. But NHS Scotland had the good foresight too. We finished recruitment of patients and collection of at least 2 years worth of follow-up in June this year, and the final readout from that study will be in H1 calendar year next year. However, what you've got in front of you are the interims. The primary objective of the study was to demonstrate, or not, that you could achieve stage shift in a portion of the population. The target was 30% of the population that underwent the screening program. Actually, we had a 55% stage shift from late to early cancers. That's a 75% increase in early cancer stage 1 and 2 as a result of a very simple blood test. The performance of that test at the interims was about 91% specificity, which is what we claim with our commercial test in the market. And we have a heightened sensitivity, and we expect that to come down as cancers come through the system. The implied negative predictive value is approaching 100%. What does this mean? Well, look, 14% of the world's population smoke, 800,000 smokers in Scotland, about a third of which meet our criteria for the study, which, by the way, was a pretest probability of 0.5% rather than 2%, which is where most screening studies are at. So a low-risk smoking cohort from some of the most socially deprived parts of our country would be eligible for a screening program moving forward on the back of a positive result and, of course, the right political will. So our strategy very much is to develop panels ourselves, which we take to market with our partners, who are channel partners, both in the US and outside of the US. In China, we have an equity investor and a co-developer who owns the rights to our Chinese market. But in addition, as a result of having a platform technology and the ability to turn the handle and rapidly develop novel panels with good performance, through our pipeline. We also are in the business of developing these panels for others. We're fundamentally a partnership business. We develop panels against others' target product profiles and rapidly can take those through clinical and technical and clinical validation and launch those products should there be a requirement. The focus, of course, and maybe in the context of this conversation, is enriching or enhancing others' diagnostics that already sit in the diagnostic pathway through a path to value we call combined diagnostics, or importantly, improving the ability of existing biomarkers or developing novel biomarkers for stratifying patients into those that will respond to certain therapies. And the path to value here is complementary diagnostics. So a quick summary, we are an autoantibody-based platform with a world-leading proprietary immunogenic protein library at its core that is well protected with over 220 patents with good coverage, 2 commercial tests in the market with good sales commitments ex-US around those tests. But fundamentally, we're a platform technology, a biomarker company, and are in the business of partnering. There are a number of paths to value, and I believe and would be very keen to have conversations in combined diagnostics and potentially complementary diagnostics with many of you. Thank you very much. Any questions?